Be cool, be kind, be classy. The cupcakes so sweet and sexy. Have fun and enjoy the journey. Just have a good attorney. No big whoop, no biggie. She lives near New York City. And not just a YouTube show. When you know, you better grab a straw. Learn about the law. It's cool here in the shade, sipping motions and lemonade. Cool heads will prevail, kindness will never fail. Be classy and vastly wise. Oh, Melanie Little is going live. Oh no, where is Melanie? Follow the island's melody. Is a concert within reach. No surprise, she's at Jones Beach. She heard some music far away. Captain Jack Stack Harbor Bay. He sings and his piano plays. Not all sounds are waterways. Speaking Yiddish or Latin, it's not just for Manhattan. It's for Goethe and Meshegas. Ridiculous that insanus. Oy vey, Marcus. Proset, that's for schmucks. Be cool, be kind, be classy. My cupcakes are sweet and sassy. And not just a YouTube show. When you know. Cool heads will prevail. Kindness will never fail. Be classy and vastly wise. Melanie Little is going live.
I'm back. Hello. Hi, cupcakes. Did you miss me? I mean, I did come and visit you twice, I think, when I was on vacation in Cancun. And then I got stranded there with my boyfriend, Dave Matthews, and 3 shows on the beach with Tim Reynolds and Dave Matthews. And it was acoustic and it was awesome. And one of your fellow cupcakes, Oksana, was there and she found me in the sand and we had so much fun together because cupcakes are everywhere. You guys are everywhere. And then I got stranded there because of this ginormous snowmageddon that happened on Sunday and Saturday. And so my flight got canceled on Sunday. And then I couldn't get any flights out on Monday. And then I got a flight out last minute. And so I planned on covering the Sarah Grace Patrick Bond hearing yesterday while I was stranded, but then I was able to get out. So here we are. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to watch the bond hearing that happened yesterday. Please, no spoilers if you already watched it. We'll talk about it. We're going to first look at the motion for immediate bond reconsideration, and we're going to talk about it. So many things to catch up on. I really want to cover if Brendan Banfield takes the stand. I want to cover that live. So does anybody know if he's going to take the stand today? Because I figured I would schedule this for 1 so we could do this over the lunch break. The hearing is only about an hour. It's actually less than an hour. And then if he does take the stand today, I want to cover it with you live. So does anybody know? So much to say. It's a Dave song. You know it. And so let me know if that's going to happen. I think they go to lunch there between 1 and 2, right? So we could always just jump on. You always just jump on. Now I couldn't stay for another week because, kid. How to get back to my kid, the one who is still remaining in the house for the school year. Here for the episode came as a new member. That's a great username. You guys are the greatest. Chat on YouTube. You are. You're called the Snark Tank for a reason, and that's why we love you so much. And look, here for the episode. If she pleads, it'll be over. If not, it's going to be a whole other episode. Thank you very much, Gen X 1968, for saying welcome back. We've missed you so, and thanks for hanging out with me for 19 months. Time flies when we're having fun, doesn't it? Fly when we're having fun. So it may not be today. So the defense is dragging on Banfield. And all right. Well, we haven't done it in a couple of days. We have not pulled an affirmation for a badass. We do this because we have a deck and you guys are badass. And sometimes you need a little affirmation to get you through the day. Here's the deck. We're going to shuffle the deck. All right. Let's just see. They just went to lunch. Okay, great. Thanks, you guys. This is such a great one today. I usually don't curse on here unless it's, warranted. So today I'm just going to say effing, although you just, replace the word with the real effing word. And it says, you saw me shuffle it, right? I am thankful for my effing amazing life. Whoever needs that today, repeat that to yourself all day long. I am thankful for my effing amazing life. And all of you you should also be thankful for your effing amazing lives. Because, there's some weirdness going on out there that we're not going to address right now, because I think the best thing to do is just not give it air. Sometimes if you stop giving things air, they die, right? Air, water, plants die, people die, things die. But if you know what I'm talking about, you know how absolutely insane it is. So say that to yourself. Oh, I got another amazing prop. So just remember, if you're just tuning in, here's your affirmation for the day. I am thankful for my effing amazing life. And all of you should be too. All of you should be too. Here, I got a new prop for us. Check this out. Somebody gave this to me. It was a gift. Thought it would be so amazing. And it really is so amazing. Look at this. This is the world's tiniest leaf blower. I mean, could you even make this up? This is called Tiny Blower. It's the world's tiniest leaf blower. It's a new prop. We've got it. I didn't even unpackage it yet to see how it works, but I think I can use it to blow the dust off my keyboard. So how amazing is that? We have a leaf blower emoji. We do. Yes, members, we do. It's crazy. Okay, for those of you, so let's start, because we only have an hour for lunch, and I don't think that I don't know if Brenda Manfield's going to get to take the stand today, because from what you're telling me, they're dragging, but it's lunchtime, so let's have a lunchtime stream. For those of you not familiar with the case of Sarah Grace Patrick out of Georgia, we found someone who needs our help, because we have decided that we are going to help many people who need help and need movements and need justice. Sarah Grace Patrick is 17 years old. She's a 17-year-old girl. She is being held in Carroll County, Georgia, in solitary confinement, where she has been held since her arrest back in July, I think it was July of 2025. Sarah Grace Patrick was 16 years old at the time that her mother and stepfather were brutally murdered. I'm going to say assassinated in their bed in their Carrollton, Georgia home on February 20th of 2025. There was an investigation, and I say, I'm using this term loosely, investigation done something like 4 months later, because the crime had not been solved and there were no suspects and the family wasn't being told anything. Sarah Grace went to TikTok, as many children do. I'm going to call her a child. She's 17. She was 16 at the time her parents were murdered. Went to TikTok looking for someone to try and bring some attention to the case. Some influencer, any influencer. This is what the kids do. If you don't have 17-year-olds or 16-year-olds, you don't know. They go to TikTok with their feelings. They go to Snapchat, they go to TikTok, they talk about their feelings, okay? This is a generation of children who were locked down, at least here in the Northeast, for something like 2 years with no social interaction. They were abandoned by their schools. This is what these kids do, okay? They go to TikTok with their feelings, they go to Snapchat, and they talk about stuff. Sarah Grace had also done some TikTok videos on her own talking about how sad she was that her mother was gone and her mascara was running. And a lot of people think that it was, disingenuous and, she must be guilty, and it's consciousness of guilt. And she gave what I thought was a beautiful eulogy at her mother's funeral. And many people found her to be fake. And she apologized at the end of the eulogy, because in the beginning of the eulogy, she said, listen, I'm sorry, I stutter a lot. I've never done this before. What 16-year-old girl should ever have to give a eulogy for her parent? How about none of them? None. And so at the end of the eulogy, she apologized because she had been stuttering, and, it was beautiful. In my opinion, it was beautiful. She's still taking a lot of heat for it. And a lot of the idiots on Court TV. One particular woman who we all know from the Karen Reed case, who thought Karen Reed was guilty, has been, I'm talking about Julie Grant right now, has been talking about how, you know, it was so fake and it was consciousness of guilt and she apologized at the end of it. So of course she's guilty. There are some people who apologize for existing. Many of them do. And I think we watched an interview with Sarah Grace Patrick's dad, Danielle Patrick, and he said that she apologizes for everything all the time. What do we know? Because there are a lot of trauma survivors in the chat. People who go through childhood trauma also often spend most of their lives apologizing for everything, including existing. Okay. We have seen zero and heard about zero evidence tying Sarah Grace Patrick to this crime. But what we did hear, because Danielle Patrick, her father, gave an interview. I can't remember who he gave it to, but I think it was that amazing guy from Law and Crime. They get to everybody on his show. And Sarah Grace Patrick's father, Danielle, said Sarah Grace has a brother who's also a biological child of Danielle Patrick, that 6 days before the murders, the brother was a witness to a, quote, family friend pulling a gun on Sarah Grace Patrick's mother and stepfather in the kitchen of their home around Valentine's Day. They remember they were murdered on February 20th of 2025. It's not even a year yet. Also, Danielle Patrick said in the interview that the first thing that he thought of and that Sarah thought of was that it was likely a drug deal gone bad. Okay. I don't know if anybody else was ever investigated. I don't even know if these police ever looked into who it was that held them at gunpoint 6 days before their murders. But the thing is, Sarah Grace Patrick does not have a driver's license. She might not even have a learner's permit. The other big thing that people think makes her guilty is that in the morning when the bodies were found, it was her 5-year-old half-sister who found the bodies. And so therefore, Sarah Grace Patrick must be 100% guilty because she didn't find the bodies herself. There's been zero evidence that has come out in any pretrial motions. We've looked at almost all of them, tying this girl to these crimes. But what we do know is that she was arrested somewhere around, and hold on, I have the papers here, so I think it says the date of her arrest. July 17th, 2025. There was a warrant issued for Sarah Grace's arrest. Her father, Danielle, the one we were just talking about, brought her and surrendered her. Okay. There's another idiot out there on the Twitter and the social media and she's a talking head on many news channel, Jennifer Koffendorfer, who is ex-FBI, who said, she was slut shaming her and saying that her clothing was too revealing, and said some other wackadoo things like, oh, you know what it says to me that she turned herself in? It says that she gave a full confession. That's my opinion. She didn't even say that's my opinion. She said, well, what it means when they turn themselves in is that they go in and they give a full confession. We have not heard anything about a full confession. In fact, Sarah Grace's grandparents, the parents of the mother who was murdered, have stood by Sarah Grace this whole entire time, and they have said that they do not believe that she has it in her to do this, and that that she didn't do it. That's what they're claiming. I know that the bond hearing was yesterday. We're going to talk about it right now. I mean, we're going to go over it together. And we're going to watch it together, and we're going to look at the papers. So what had happened was Sarah Grace turned herself in because there were warrants out for her arrest with her father. Instead of them arresting her and doing a perp walk and getting their footage like they love to do, like they did for Karen Reed, instead of giving David Yannetti the heads up. She was arrested on July 17th, 2025, and she was incarcerated. And ever since then, she's been held in solitary confinement. Reminder, she's 17 years old. That's why they can't put her in Gen Pop. Let's take a look at the papers, and then I'll give you a little bit more information. Just let me see if there's anything more as far as background. Oh, and remember the press conference that we talked about. We went over. I thought that was the DA or the head of the police department giving that press conference. No, it was the PR person for the sheriff's department that did that crazy press conference that said there's mountains of evidence against her, mountains of evidence. But she also said something very interesting. There may be more arrests to come. That was in July 2025. There's been no more arrests that have happened. And we have not seen anything about this mountain of evidence. Not one shred, not a thing, not a thing. We don't know if there was any gunshot residue found on her hands. We know nothing. Show us the mountains. Show us the mountains. Danielle Patrick, Sarah Grace's dad, also said that he saw forced entry. We looked at pictures of that door, and that the door where it looked like there was forced entry goes practically right into the bedroom where Sarah Grace's mom and stepdad slept. So there's that. Also, I think it was brought out that they don't lock their doors. They don't lock their doors in Carroll, Georgia. This family did not, or is it Carrollton? Wait, hold on. Carrollton. Carroll County, Georgia. Carrollton is the name of the town. We looked at the Zillow listing. The house is for sale. And then what happened in December 16th, there was a conference, and then there was a delay because the defense was waiting on the psychiatric evaluation from the expert. Okay. Pinning it on the girl. It's what happens a lot. All right. Let's take a look at the motion for immediate bond reconsideration. So what had happened was in August, they did a bond hearing, and it was wild. It was like victim impact statements. All the people that got up from the family of James Brock and Kristen Brock, that is the name of her mother and stepfather who were murdered. The people that got up to speak, it was like they were giving victim impact statements. It was, I have never seen or heard anything like that at a bond hearing. And they said that they were afraid, and they said that they thought that she would intimidate the sister to change testimony. It was horrible, right? It was horrible, Jessica. It was horrible. Go back and watch it. The playlist of this case is linked below. Let's take a look first at the papers on the bond reconsideration. If I start freezing, let me know. I may have to have the Geek Squad come, and I have a whole new setup, and so it has been acting wonky when I try and share the screen, but I'm going to do my best, and we're just going to get what we get, and we don't get upset. This is the motion for immediate bond reconsideration that was filed in January 6th of 2026, when the trial has now been adjourned to August of 2026 because the state needed more time to maybe get their own expert. The entire expert report had not been completely finished yet. And I agree with you. And so the state said they needed more time, and the judge was like, oh, that's okay. That's okay. We could just push it to August. We're still within standards and goals, which is, when you're supposed to try someone. So it's fine. It's totally fine. No worries. Hold, please. McMandy Ruth says, and I agree with you, that the psych evaluation, the expert psych evaluation, most likely is going to be used to explain the way she acted after the murders on TikTok to prove that this generation grieves differently, which can be normal. Yes. It doesn't necessarily mean that this forensic psychiatrist is going to come in and say, well, she did it, but here's why she did it, because of history of abuse and other things. It may just be to show her reaction and why her reaction was normal in this kind of situation. Kelly B says, Melanie, I think she's innocent. Carroll County Sheriff's Office is dirty and lazy. Angela says, question, what's the consensus here? Do you guys think she's guilty? I have no idea about this case. Go back and watch the playlist. I have seen no evidence to show that she is guilty. And so every defendant in the United States of as such America is entitled to the presumption of innocence until if and when proven guilty. And they need to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. And what I am seeing here is absolutely nothing. I've seen no evidence, zero, absolutely zero. And we have been dealing with cases that involve so much law enforcement corruption. And listen, if you look, if you say something in the chat like all police are corrupt, all law enforcement sucks, one of my amazing moderators, who is 25 years on the job, retired from NYPD, will strike that comment immediately, because I back the blue 100%. I back the blue 100%. I do not back corruption. And what we have been uncovering in cases like Karen Reed and others, Aaron Spencer, Penny McGee, Brian Camp, not just corruption, but just the willingness of a district attorney's office to just want to get a conviction. They don't care about the truth. They don't care about the Constitution or the Bill of Rights. They just want to get a conviction. And that's not the way it's supposed to be. Okay? Here's the motion for immediate bond consideration that was filed by the Queen. The Queen, her name is Latoya Williams. She's a public defender for Sarah Grace Patrick. Love her. I love her. She's amazing. She's fiery. And public defenders are out there doing the Lord's work. They really are. They're out there doing the Lord's work. And they are fiercely passionate about justice, and they believe in the right to a fair trial. And Latoya Williams is not only gorgeous, but she's a fierce and passionate advocate for Sarah Grace. Comes now, Sarah Grace Patrick, by and through her counsel, and respectfully requests that this court grant immediate reconsideration of bond revocation. Defendant shows the following. Defense moved for bond, and said motion was heard on August 15th of 2025. This court denied bond, citing risk to flee, risk to influence witnesses, and a threat to the community and family members as its reasoning in an order filed on August 19th of 2025. Calendar call was scheduled for December 16th of 2025, at which time the defense announced ready for trial. At said time, there was a pending report from a defense expert. Defense verbally and in writing notified the state of its intention to present expert testimony in the area of forensic neuropsychology. Trial was further scheduled for January 5th of 2026. So it sounded like I said January, but it was January 5th of 2026. Defense again announced ready for trial, with a preliminary report having been submitted, and the state made a motion for a continuance. Okay, now look. First, this is the way it works. The state puts on its case, and then when they're done, then the defense case starts. In my opinion, the state didn't really need an adjournment. You're supposed to be able, as an attorney, to think on the fly. Trials are a living, breathing thing. Having a preliminary report about what this defense expert was going to say, in my opinion, is enough for the state to start and proceed with trial, especially if they've got a mountain of evidence, right? You have a mountain of evidence. What do you care what the defense expert is going to say? Because you're just going to poke holes in it. And then maybe you can have a rebuttal case, and maybe you can bring in an expert to counter that. This girl is 17 years old. She's been held in solitary for 6 months. And this thing needs to be tried to sweet, especially if there's no evidence against her. That's my opinion. State made a motion for a continuance. This court granted the state's motion and further gave an anticipated trial date for August 3rd of 2026. Really? Really? We got nothing? We got nothing between December and August? 8 months? We got to go out 8 months in Carroll County, Georgia? We can't get it in there faster for trial? This is wild. This is outrageous. What is happening to this girl, especially if she didn't do this, is a horror. She's going to be in jail at that time. By the time this case goes to trial, she will have been held in solitary confinement for over 1 year. For over a year. Do you think that that experience, it essentially is a life sentence for her? Because if she's found not guilty, she's had to spend over a year in solitary confinement in a Carroll County jail. And that is not okay. That is not okay. I agree with that. Is not okay. We watched Carly Gregg be convicted in Mississippi of taking her mother's life. And there was video of Carly Gregg going and getting the weapon in the living room. They had interior cameras. And then we watched her walk into the bedroom. We heard a gunshot. We saw her come out, and then we saw her hide the weapon and take the cameras down or something. I don't remember it so much because it traumatized me. She was 14 years old, and she is sentenced to LWOP in Mississippi with life without possibility of parole, with without ever having the possibility of parole. They tried her as an adult and she's 14. She's 14 years old. And there was a lot of evidence about all of the medications and the switching up of medications, very in the Carly Gregg case, very similar to what we now have learned happened with Lindsay Clancy in Norfolk County, Massachusetts, because Lindsay Clancy filed a medical malpractice case against her doctors that we read when I was in Cancun a couple of days ago. And all of the wild, crazy medications that Lindsay Clancy was put on and the auditory hallucinations that she was suffering from. And she even went and signed herself into McLean Hospital, which is supposed to be like the best hospital out there. And I think that is also very similar to what happened to Carly Gregg with the medication changes. So Carly Gregg is going to be, there's an appeal pending. We haven't had a chance to go over it yet. She's in solitary, yeah, because of her age, because they can't put her in Gen Pop because it wouldn't be safe. Okay. Moving on. Since her incarceration on July 17th of 2025, defendant has been in solitary confinement because of her age. There you go, right there. There you go. It says it right there. Max Bang. Defendant continues to assert she is not a risk to flee, not a risk to intimidate witnesses, not a risk to the community, and not a risk to reoffend. She has no record. We looked at some other police reports regarding her boyfriend at the time, who had been arrested right around the time or after this, I think, on gun charges and possession of drug charges. I think he had mushrooms and weed. I can't remember exactly. I believe Danielle Patrick, the father, also said that the mother and stepfather may have been dealing in weed and had actually screwed over some dealers on a weed deal within a month or two before this. Hold on. It goes on to say, because of the aforementioned reasons, we pray that this court will immediately reconsider bond in this case and set it down for a hearing at the next available calendar date for this court. And that was submitted on January 5th of 2026. It took them until yesterday, January 27th, to hold this hearing. XOXO, Latoya Williams, attorney for the defendant. Love her so much. Yeah, that was her ex. I don't think it was, isn't that what I said? Her former boyfriend? I think it was her ex, right? A rug deal gone bad. Thank you for saying a rug deal gone bad. Thank you. That is absolutely the best way to write that in the chat is rug. I will allow it. Okay. Right. Karen says, no record, no access to firearms, does not have a driver's license or a vehicle, and the intimidation is just a joke. Are they lazy? I don't know. We'll decide when we watch this hearing. And originally, I want to say I like Judge Dusty Hightower. His name is Judge Dusty Hightower. He's the judge. He reminds me of Jake Ryan from 16 Candles. You guys remember that old John Hughes movie, 16 Candles? Back in the day. That's who he reminds me of. Tell me I'm wrong when he comes on camera. Thank you to New Hampshire woman who's a proud OG for 27 months. She's been here, one of the first members ever. We only started having memberships about 27 months ago. And Scorp says, glad you arrived back safely. Thank you so much. After I read about that horrific plane crash in Bangor, Maine, which we talked about the other night, I was not getting on a plane, even if they weren't taking off anyway. But no icy runway for me. And that is really tragic. And I think they're still being kind of tight-lipped about who else was on that plane aside from the lawyer's wife and the pilot and an event planner. But the plane apparently was refueling in Bangor, Maine, and then heading to Paris. Was out of Texas. Yes, so tragic. Thank you so much, Scorps. And Gigi's got my back, and she's gifting 5 memberships. So welcome to all of the new members. Oh, Mitchell says Justy looks like Tom Brady to me. That's an interesting take. All right, let's take a look at, I've got an entire playlist here. And the thing is that Law and Crime cut it up into a bunch of different videos. And so what we're going to do is we're going to watch a tiny bit of Court TV. That's where I had to watch it yesterday on their website. And then I may switch over to the individual videos because Court TV's got like all these graphics all over the screen and things are moving and it's hard to watch. So we're going to start here anyway, and then we'll see where we go from here. Hopefully I won't glitch. Have I been freezing yet? Or I shouldn't jinx it. This is the Julia Grant's take from yesterday. So for those of you that had to watch it there, I apologize, but I just I was rushing to get to the airport because I was able to get a last minute flight out of Cancun. All right, here we go.
Welcome to our second hour of Court TV Live. I'm Julie Grant, taking you now to Georgia, where we finally have the case called for 17-year-old Sarah Grace Patrick. She's accused of murdering her mother and her stepfather, Kristen and James Brock. The incident in question happening last February. She wasn't arrested, though, until July. She has been incarcerated ever since. She's made a plea for bond before, and it was unsuccessful. We'll find out together what happens today, as her grandpa is going to be the first witness up.
Defense and state supposed to be.
Okay, so the first thing the judge is going to say is that they went back into chambers. I was in your dream, Kitty. I hope it was a good dream. They went back into chambers and they gave him some things like letters. So let's hear what the Judge Dusty Hightower has to say.
Chambers with a stack of letters. I have read each of these, and I want to say I greatly appreciate y'all getting them to me ahead of time. I know some of these are from I think I have two separate grandfathers that wrote the letter, grandmother, several family friends that were in here, some that have been lifelong friends. There were also a couple letters from people that just met Miss Patrick after the incident. There was one that was very kind, even said, Judge, I don't envy you and the decision you have to make in the way of that. So that person, I appreciate that as well.
I mean, everything about Judge Dusty Hightower. Let me just zoom in on him a little bit here. Tell me, does he remind you of Jake Ryan from, why isn't it? It says that it's zooming in, but it's really not. Jake Ryan from 16 Candles. Okay, hold on.
I think that's what I did with this.
Oh, that's the speed. Okay, no, I don't want to do this. Stop. Hold on. There's a first time for everything. Go back to normal speed, please. All right, no. It's you know what? I have an extension on my browser, and I think that's the problem. Hold on. This is what is this? Where's the speed portion?
They do matter. No matter what decision is I make today, these letters do matter, and they have to be ready. Okay? All right, say you're ready as well? State's ready. All right, defense is your motion.
All right, let me just take that back a second. I'm just trying to zoom in. Hold, please. I have to go off for a second. Hold on, please. I gotta take this call from my kid. Okay, sorry about that. My daughter got pulled over and she had to call me because she's never been pulled over before and she was freaking out and it was the whole thing. So shout out to the officer who who did not give her a ticket because she had me on speaker because she's wicked smart. Yes. And so it's always something. When you have 5 kids, it's always something. All right. We're going to start over from the beginning. So if you're just tuning in, you did not miss a thing. Dusty Hightower is the judge. This happened yesterday anyway. And that is very scary. It was very scary for her. She was crying. I was on speaker. I spoke to the officer myself. And that is exactly, be polite and comply with the officer. Right. She lawyered up real quick. I didn't pull that card, though. I didn't say I'm a lawyer. I just said I'm the mom. How can I help? And there was a very, very kind female officer who did not give her a ticket. Okay. It wasn't a speeding ticket. It wasn't a speeding ticket. They said that she went through the stop sign. She's like, I didn't go through the stop sign. I stopped. I was right behind that truck. The truck stopped. I stopped. Whatever. Don't argue. Don't say anything and let me talk. Okay. Let me talk. All right. Hold on. Here we go. We're back to the beginning of yesterday's bond hearing. Judge Dusty Hightower on the bench.
Grandmother, several family friends that were in here, some that.
Yeah, let's go all the way back.
To that person, I appreciate that as well. I have read each of these, and I want to say I greatly appreciate y'all getting them to me ahead of time. I know some of these were from the, I think I had 2 separate grandfathers that wrote a letter, grandmother, several family friends that were in here, some that have been lifelong friends. There were also a couple letters from people that just met.
And with that, Your Honor, we will call witness.
All right. Well, I don't know what just happened there. It just jumped to my next video. So hold please while I figure out why it just did that. It's always something, you guys. It's always something. They didn't want us watching court TV either. Okay. As soon as Latoya Williams starts to speak, that is when I will switch over to the next video. Here we go. If you guys know, if you've been watching me for a long time, I always stop my stream if one of my kids calls because they know when I'm on the air. And so if they call, they know, I know that it's an emergency because they always check YouTube to see. Okay, here we go.
Of last year, 2025, and since that time, Ms. Patrick has been in custody. I made the court aware at that bond hearing she was at that time in solitary confinement and still remains in that posture in the Carroll County Jail. So I wanted that to be.
Okay, and this is where we will switch to the next video.
At the And with that, Your Honor, we will call witnesses in addition to those letters if the court will so allow.
My understanding is you have 2 witnesses.
That's correct.
I call your first witness.
Dennis Nolan Sr.
Okay, so this happened yesterday. And this is Latoya Williams, public defender for Sarah Grace Patrick. And they called 2 witnesses. First is Dennis Nolan, her grandfather. We're going to stop and talk. If you did watch it yesterday, just don't spoil it for those who didn't. Please. He testified at the first bond hearing as well.
Yes, sir. You'll come around and then remain standing while I swear you. To remain standing, raise your right hand. You swear affirm statements made before the court today, the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God. You may be seated. if you would, just once you're seated, pull that microphone a little closer and speak loudly and clearly into the microphone. And if you'll start off by just stating your name.
My name is Dennis Nolan, Sr.
That's really good. Okay.
Good morning, Mr. Nolan. I believe the microphone just went off.
And you pulled it.
If the may have to boost the volume a little bit for you because the microphone did go off on Court TV and I couldn't hear it yesterday. My earbuds, but if you can't, I may boost it.
So just speak up, and speak loud for us, okay?
All right, Mr. Nolan, how are you related to Sarah Grace Patrick?
She's my granddaughter.
And are you her maternal or paternal grandfather? Maternal? And so Kristen was your daughter?
Kristen was my daughter.
Okay. Now, Mr. Nolan, have you received, I'll just get to the issue at hand. Do you believe that Sarah is a danger to you or anybody else in this community?
Not at all, no.
Okay. Do you believe that she is a threat to intimidate any witnesses that may be a part of this case?
No, absolutely not.
Have you ever witnessed?
Can you hear it okay? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The state is claiming, allegedly, that they think that Sarah Grace is going to threaten her 5-year-old daughter. I mean, her 5-year-old sister, half-sister, to testify. We don't even know what the sister said, the 5-year-old said during her interview. So there's so much in the dark about this case.
Her threaten anybody or do any harm to somebody that you know of?
No, not at all.
Okay. Do you know if she has a driver's license?
She does not.
Does she have a learner's permit?
No, that I know of.
Does she have a passport?
No.
Are you aware of how she became arrested in this case?
Yes, pretty much.
Okay. Did she turn herself in or did the police have to go get her?
She turned herself in.
And was that with you or with her father?
Her father.
And
She turned herself in. So according to Jennifer Coffendorfer, that means she gave a full confession. That's interesting. I am sure that if she gave a full confession, that absolutely would have leaked, right?
is her father, let me ask you this. Were you ever living, was Sarah ever living with you?
No.
Do you know if Sarah to have any access to any money that would allow her to leave this jurisdiction?
No, nothing at all.
If she is released on bond, would you be a part of the village to make sure she gets back here to court?
Okay, yes, absolutely.
Okay. And where is it that you live, Mr. Nolan?
I live in Rome, Georgia.
About how far away is that from here?
It's about an hour and 15 minutes.
Have you received any money from any publications or bloggers or anything like that in relation to this case?
No, nothing at
Do you know if Sarah has received any money from any of those sources?
No, not at all.
Do you know if Sarah has any money stored up in some savings account to be able to flee the jurisdiction?
No, nothing.
Now, how old is Sarah?
She's now 17.
Did you write a letter to the judge in reference to this case or to the bond in this case?
Yes.
Okay. And the judge has indicated that he's read that, so I'm not going to have you read it today, but it is a part of what the judge has been turned over. Okay. Do you know if Sarah has ever been arrested before?
No.
No, she has not, or no, you don't know? Okay. Right, that's all I have at this point.
Can I have record that record?
Okay. He lives in Rome, Georgia. He's like, no, I do not know Turtle Boy. Right. Right. Here we go.
Good morning, Mr. Nolan. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. Now, you and I have spoken before, is that right?
That's right.
A number of times, 8 times, 6 times, something like that? Okay. Almost always in our office, is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay, you've been invited to our office multiple times. You do live in Rome, so you can't always come down, is that fair to say?
That's
Okay,
right.
so our office has been open to you throughout this process. Okay.
That's right.
Our office has been open to you throughout this process. This is the state. This is the prosecutor. This is the district, the DA or ADA that's trying this case. I mean, in his closing, he's going to say some things too. And the grandfather lives about an hour and 15 minutes away. When in Rome, right? When in Rome.
I do want to talk to you a little bit about what you just spoke with opposing counsel on. You said you never lived with the defendant before. Would she be staying with you now in Rome?
No, I don't know.
If the only way the judge granted bond was for her to stay with you in Rome, would you open your home to her in Rome?
Probably.
Probably. Okay.
Probably. If the only way for Sarah Grace to get out on bond was for her to come and live with you in your house in Rome, would you open your house to her? He says, probably. I was annoyed about this until I found out that he and the grandmother are no longer together. So don't get mad at him yet. He's been very vocal also in interviews saying that she's not guilty. She didn't do this.
Where would she be staying? Where would she be staying?
With her best friend, who's,
Her best friend, whose mother's name is Carrie, I don't know if she's here. Don't follow the captions. Let me tell you, because the captions are often wrong.
So the defendant would be staying with her own best friend?
Yes,
Okay, and who is that?
Carrie. I'm not sure of her last name.
Okay, Carrie.
I'm not sure of her last name. This is a bad answer. I don't like the fact that he wasn't prepped on this. Not sure of her last name.
Okay, now, does Carrie live in the state of Georgia?
No,
Is Carrie the daughter's name or the mother's name? But she also doesn't live in the state of Georgia. What judge is going to allow this 17-year-old girl out on bond to go live in another state? Nobody. Another bad answer.
just over the border in Alabama.
Just over the border in Alabama. It doesn't matter. Alabama is not Georgia. Alabama is not Georgia.
I think we heard from her at the last one here. So she would not be staying in state, is your understanding?
No, it's just, she lives right at the border.
Sure, understood.
It's what I feel is best for her.
Okay, now, you asked a question a minute ago about whether you had sold anything. You were at one point negotiating with media companies regarding the story. Is that fair to say?
That's correct.
Okay, what companies?
No, 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 no. They've been negotiating with media companies. Him and his wife and her dad and her father. You couldn't wait until the trial was over. I don't like this at all.
Were you negotiating with?
Oh, there's probably 10 or 15 of them. I don't have listened to them.
Sure.
10 or 15 media companies in a bidding war with the grandparents for the rights to the story and the father. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Because now everyone is going to look through the lens of what this man and his wife say, and even the father through, oh, well, they've got a contract with a movie company that's going to make a documentary. So, you know, they're going to say whatever money talks, you know, they're going to say whatever the documentary company wants them to say. This is ridiculous. Why would they do this to this poor girl before this trial has even happened? I'm so mad about this.
Did you sign a contract with any of them?
Yes,
Okay, which media company did you sign a contract with?
Lady Well.
Can you spell that for me?
It's LADYWELL.
Okay, Lady Well.
Ladywell Films. Ladywell Films. They haven't been given any money, though. And somebody says, I think it's because to pay for counsel. Oh, my head's going to pop off. The house isn't selling. They have to get their child out of solitary. Right now, she has a public defender, but I think she might be going private and they may need money. But this is what he should have been asked, and he wasn't, if that's true. So you can be mad now, but I don't think that anybody's going to ask him why they did. And maybe that would have been a good question.
How long is that contract for?
Well, it's for production that will be post-trial.
Okay.
No.
And what was the compensation in that contract?
I don't recall, I didn't receive any for signing the contract.
Okay.
There's monies to be paid after the production is made, which would be after the trial, after the production.
The money's to be paid after the production, after the trial. Nothing's been paid yet, but he said he did sign a contract.
So it's all on the back end. Okay. What's that amount?
Well, it depends.
Objection relevant?
Yeah.
Judge, this goes directly to the family's ability to enable her to leave the jurisdiction. This is something that was talked about at the last hearing, where the family had assets. The court determined she was a flight risk because of those assets.
Yeah, but if they're not going to get paid until after the production, which is after the trial, then that's a non-starter argument. That's a bogus argument. They're not getting any money from this. The house is on the market. I guess it hasn't sold, is what you guys are telling me. I know we looked at the Zillow listing at one point. So if they're not going to get paid until after the trial's over, then the flight risk issue is not a good argument, but that's his argument.
Those assets have now increased by, I'm going to guess, between, I'm not going to put a figure on it, I'll let Mr. Nolan put a figure on it, but if the assets of the family have increased and that was a concern for the court last time, it remains a concern for the court this time.
I believe, Your Honor, the testimony is that it may become an asset in the future, not that it's a current asset. And so it not being a current asset, I believe, blocks the relevance of the importance of the dollar amount at this point.
So there's a significant difference between them selling the rights for $1,000 and some of them selling the rights for $1 million.
Let me ask attorneys to approach. Is this the microphone for your camera?
Yes, sir.
Can you cut that?
Yes, sir.
You can hear the cameraman saying, he said, is this the microphone for your camera? Can you cut that microphone, please? And then they come to sidebar. Magnolia Gypsy says, it's not great, but a media deal has nothing to do with her dangerousness. No, but it may go to the credibility of these witnesses, right? Oh, well, are you telling the truth or are you testifying this way because it's better for your documentary deal? Are you telling the truth or are you spinning things a little bit because you might get paid more money if she's found not guilty? That's my fear with this. So then they're at the bench talking and camera person moves his camera, which is good because here's wait. Here's Sarah Grace. They're going to make a big deal and say that she rolled her eyes later. Right. This just adds more questions, which is not a good thing, says KBD. Yes. We're going to look at their IMDb after Ladywell films.
You cut that back on.
Thank you, sir.
Judge, if I may, just in addition to the reason that I stated prior on the record, I think this goes directly to the veracity of the statements of this witness, Judge. I think we heard statements just moments ago from him that directly contradict what we're talking about here today. I think this is a relevant area to go into at this time.
I'm going to allow questions at this time. That was just so the bench conference. That was my concern. I was making sure that that's where we should be going potentially with this argument. So I'm going to allow questions.
Okay, so I'm going to go back. What is that dollar amount?
What is the total of that?
Correct.
I'll be honest with you, I don't recall because it happened months ago. I believe it was somewhere around $100,000.
Somewhere around $100,000.
And is that 100,000 that will go to you? Who will that go to?
Go to whoever the production company feels contributed to the production.
Okay, so that money will be parsed out depending on who participates in whatever.
Right. And it's all post trial.
Sure. And who are the parties to that contract? There's Ladywell who's on one side. Who is on the other side?
Myself, the land, DJ, and I believe that's it.
So the only parties to the contract are him, his wife, or who may be his soon-to-be ex-wife, and the dad, Danielle Patrick, who is not their son. Their daughter was Kristen Brock. the biological mother of Sarah Grace Patrick, who was murdered. They're the only three parties to this contract.
When you mean Newnan Rd, the maternal grandmother,
Yeah.
and you mean DJ, the biological father of the defendant. Did they pay any upfront money to you?
No.
No penny at this point. A cent has come your way. Nothing's all in the back.
Correct.
Okay.
No upfront money.
I want to be clear. It's your testimony here today that none of that money will be going to Sarah Grace. It will be going to Newnan and DJ. Is that your testimony today?
Look at the captions on this. It is your testimony that none of this money will be going to Sour Grace. S-O-U-R Grace, not Sour Grace, Sour Grace.
I want to be clear. It's your testimony here today that none of that money will be going to Sarah Grace. It will be going to Newnan and DJ. Is that your testimony today?
That's what I understand, yes.
Will you?
That's my understanding of what's in the contract.
Okay. It will not go to Sarah Grace Patrick, correct? Okay, understood. Nothing else at this point.
Anything else?
No, Your Honor, not for this one.
Can you step down? Thank you. Call your next witness.
Newnan Rd.
And this is the grandma.
You can come this way. Go ahead. Mr. If you remain standing, raise your right hand. You swear to affirm the statement to make before the court today, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. You'll be seated. I apologize for I might be out. Proceed loudly and clearly for me, just to help everyone out. I greatly appreciate it. Just imagine that you're talking through a door, okay? If you'll state your name correct.
Newnan Rd.
All right, Ms. Bruce, how do you know Ms. Patrick?
She's my granddaughter.
She's your granddaughter. Is she your maternal or paternal granddaughter? Maternal. So you are Kristen's mother. Okay. And has Sarah ever lived with you?
I mean, she stayed with me off and on, but
But visitation as a grandmother, that kind of thing. Okay.
project.
Let's address this money issue. Have you received any money from any production company, bloggers, whatever, in relation to this case? Not today. Okay. Has there been any?
Wait, what bloggers are paying? Oh, I wonder, did Rotten Mango pay for Karen's interview? Maybe they do. Those ones with really big production teams, maybe they can afford to pay for interviews and things like that. Friend of Dog gifted 10 memberships because you know why? She or he is amazing. I think it's a she. Thank you so much. You're so generous. Please push this stream out because more people need to know about this case. Oh, 1 second. Oops.
Promise of money to you in the future for the rights to this and that type of thing?
After the trial, yes.
Okay, after the trial. But at this moment, you have not received any money as it relates to this case? Okay. Do you know if Sarah has received any money as it relates to this case?
Nothing I know of.
Have you given her any money from a production company that you received?
Oh, no.
Okay. Do you know if Sarah has a driver's license?
No.
Does she have a learner's permit?
No.
Do you know if she's learned how to drive a car?
I don't think so. They didn't have one that she did not.
Okay. Does she have a passport?
No.
Are you aware if she turned herself in or was she arrested?
She was forced to turn herself in.
Okay. And when she turned herself in, do you know where she came from?
I think she was at her grandparents.
Okay. And that would have been the same house that's in Alabama? Okay. And where do you live, Luann? Like what city?
I don't know where it is.
I didn't hear what she said. She lives where? The captions didn't even pick it up. Oh no.
I don't know where it is.
Rome area? I'm not sure.
Do you have at this point custody of? Okay. And that is Sarah's little sister.
Okay, so they're bleeping out Sarah's little sister's name, which I'm happy that they're doing. And so at this point, this grandmother does have custody of her 5-year-old half sister.
Okay. Are you afraid for the safety as it relates to Sarah?
Not in the news.
Not in the
Is
least.
there any, has Sarah ever made any threats to you or to at any point in time, but especially in relation to this case?
No.
Okay. Has she tried to talk to her or change her testimony or anything like that that you're aware of?
I talk to Sarah every day. No relations anyway. They're just loving sisters talking to each other.
I talk to Sarah every day, and it seems like her sister does too, and she says they're just loving sisters talking to each other.
Have you any reason to believe that she would flee the jurisdiction and not come back to court?
Not at all.
Wait. Okay. Would you be a part of the community and village that would be responsible for making sure she shows up for court dates in the future? Okay.
She said, no.
Are you aware if she's ever been arrested before?
Yes.
Okay.
She's never been arrested before. She got
And
no
you wrote
record.
a letter in relation to this case and this bond this morning? Okay.
I didn't think I was gonna be able to be here.
Okay. Right. You had another work obligation.
I couldn't get out of it.
The ICE changed that. I think it changed a lot of things for a lot of people. But that letter is a part of what the judge has reviewed. And so I wanted you to know that that is a part of it. Now, you are one of the victims in this case, right? Would you consider yourself one of them?
I'm very much a victim.
Okay. And I'm sorry,
My whole family.
your whole family.
She said, I consider myself to be very much a victim. My whole family is.
And you are in support of Sarah
Very much.
and her being out on bond.
Very much so.
Don't think I have any other questions.
Stay.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning, Ms. Bruce. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Again, same kind of starting question. You and I have had conversations in the past, is that right? Okay. I do want to ask you just a little bit about those media rights that we've been talking about. How familiar are you with those media rights?
I mean, they live in it and I've talked to them. You know, it's all based on what will happen after the trial.
Sure.
Who they're gonna, make go through all the pictures and stories and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. And the three people who are involved in that are you, Dennis, and DJ. Is that correct?
Correct.
So the $100,000 or so that we've been talking about, that will get sort of divvied up between that group. Is that right? It won't go to Sarah Grace. It won't go to her sister Jamie. It won't go to anybody else. That's money that's going to go directly to your pocket if you were participating. Okay.
So none of that money is going to go to Sarah Grace. I don't know if they've got, they call it a son of Sam law here in New York. They call it there's other laws in California. We've been talking about the Slayer law that has to do with Rob Reiner. Rob Reiner and Nick Reiner. There are many states that do not allow criminal defendants to profit from their crimes if they're convicted. And so the grandmother is very careful to say that Sarah Grace is not receiving any of this money. If the reason that they did sign this media deal was to pay for a private attorney because LaToya Williams may be leaving the public defender's office and going private, perhaps, then I would like to know that.
You don't live near here either. You live up north of Marietta, right? And you said Sarah Grace has never stayed with you. Is that right? Long term?
She's stayed with me.
Okay. She will not be staying with you. She'll be staying in Alabama if she's granted a bond. Okay.
I don't worry. That's the children. Takes up a lot of the space. Please.
Correct. If the judge were to say that the only way she can get a bond would be to come home with you, would you be able to host? Would you be able to house her?
I'll make it happen.
She said, I'll make it happen. I'll make it happen. The issue is that the 5-year-old sister lives there too. And if they're afraid that Sarah Grace is going to intimidate the sister, that's also not a good option, right? People are asking, what about her dad, Danielle Patrick? I don't think does he live in Georgia? I thought he also lived in a neighboring state, but I'm not exactly sure. Let's keep going. I don't like the idea of her going to live with her friend because her friend doesn't live in Georgia either.
So when your husband said probably, he was really waiting for you to say absolutely.
No, they're no longer together, Judge. They are.
Oh,
Judge tries to make a joke and says, so when your husband says probably, he was just waiting for you to approve it before he said yes. And then the prosecutor says, oh, Judge, they're not together anymore. And now here's Judge Dusty Hightower opening mouth, inserting foot. Oops. Hold on a second.
So you know.
Father's in Alabama too, so that's not an option.
And have you ever been to the house in Alabama where the defendant will be staying?
No.
How long have you known this person, Carroll, that she'll be staying?
I've just known of her. I met her here last time. I've not really known her.
Okay, so you just met her here earlier this month?
Well, I guess I've never. So.
Over the prior hearings?
It's something like that.
At the prior bond hearing back in August, probably? That's not. So you don't know her very well?
But I will.
I'm sure you will. I have no other questions for you. Thank you so much.
Would have been better if the grandmother went to the house to check it out, to make sure that it was an appropriate place for her granddaughter to be living. That all of this would have been better. No one can vouch for Carrie, says Serenity. That's right.
Anything else?
Briefly, Your Honor. Ms. Bruce, is it your intention to get Sarah out on bond so that you can, help the production company get footage for the documentary and all of that stuff?
Absolutely not. I'm here because I'm afraid I'm afraid. I think she's unlicensed being charged.
Thank you.
It's hard to hear what she's saying, but she's like, that's not why I'm here, to get footage for this documentary.
Yes, ma'am.
And then this is when the state gets up to argue. There were no other witnesses, just these two witnesses. Last time we heard from a lot of witnesses from the Brock family, but I think this time they submitted letters. They didn't come in and testify. Here we go. This is going to be the state's argument about why the judge should not grant Sarah Gray's bond.
Judge, the state does oppose bond in this case. They've done enough bonds with me to know I follow a particular protocol when I go through my bonds. I always start with the case history. Talking about an incident date of February 20th of 2025. That is less than 12 months ago. An arrest date on this case was July 8th of 2025. This case went before the grand jury August 19th of 2025. We had a bond hearing on August 19th of 2025 as well, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. The trial court date on this case is set for August 3rd of this year, which is less than 1 calendar year from indictment. That is incredibly fast. Opposing counsel did mention the additional time based on the continuance that for all intents and purposes had to be granted. That is not a consideration for the court. The court's structure in regards to this is pretty straightforward. There is no material change in the circumstances of the defendant. That's where we are. I'm going to read from that bond order on August 19th of 2025. After hearing evidence presented.
I'm going to disagree. Okay. The material change in the circumstances of this defendant is that she is a 17-year-old girl who's in solitary confinement. And now the trial that was supposed to happen January 5th has been pushed 7 months to August. That's a material change. Get her a closer trial date. His argument's going to be nothing's changed. She's still a danger. She still could flee. Meanwhile, she's got no license, no passport, no car.
Regarding the defendant's motion for bond, this court finds the defendant is a risk to flee the jurisdiction, not appear for future court appearances. The defendant is a risk to influence witnesses. The defendant is a threat to the community and family members as testified to at defendant's hearing regarding bond. Through all of the testimony and argument we have heard today, there has been nothing to dispute that fact. If anything, I think it could be argued that the flight risk is actually more significant now than it was before. The family in this case does oppose bond, Judge. And one other thing that I do want to address is that was at the beginning of opposing counsel.
You can see it looks like Sarah Grace is smirking, but I think she's smirking because she's like, where am I going to go? I don't have any money. I don't have a license. I don't have a passport. Where am I going to go? You've got me in solitary confinement. I mean, if this girl wasn't screwed up already, she certainly will be when she gets out. Look at her face. If you can come to your screen safely and you're not driving down the highway in your 18-wheeler on scaffolding or anything.
Through all of the testimony and argument we have heard today, there has been nothing to dispute that fact. If anything, I think it could be argued that the flight risk is actually more significant now than it was before. The family in this case does oppose bond, Judge. And one other thing that I do want to address is that was at the beginning of opposing counsel's argument. Our relationship with both sides is as much as we can make it. Miss Bruce, Mr. Nolan, and and DJ, the biological father of the defendant, they have been invited to our office constantly. Anytime we have spoken to the Brock side, we have reached out to the other side as well. They choose not to come. I sat down on that August 19th, 2025.
They choose not to come to talk to the DA. They've spoken to the DA several times and they're like, what evidence do you have against Sarah Grace? And they're like, oh, a mountain. But they're not telling her they're not telling them what the evidence is. And so his argument is going to be, we've invited them to come every single time that we spoke to the Brock family and they just don't want to come speak to us. Let's hear that again. And so what does that mean? Like, how does that make you more? And here's the things that the judge needs to consider: whether she's a flight risk, whether or not she's going to intimidate witnesses, and whether or not she's a danger to the community. Those are the only three things that should be considered in this motion for bond. And now this prosecutor is referring back to the testimony from the prior bond hearing in August, when the Brock family was testifying about and crying about how they're so sad that James Brock was killed and that they're afraid that she might come for them next. I mean, that it was highly inappropriate for a bond hearing, and they didn't come back and testify this time. So are they still afraid of her? Are they still afraid that she may come for them too? I think it would have been very important to hear from those witnesses, but they didn't come in this time. And so this prosecutor is spinning it to say, well, her grandparents don't want to come in to talk to us. Why? What are you're going to keep blowing smoke up their butts?
Spoken to the Brock side, we have reached out to the other side as well. They choose not to come. I sat down on that August 19th, 2025. We sat up in our brand new grand jury room up on the 5th floor.
Congratulations.
And I sat and answered their questions for at least a couple hours. I think it was about 2 hours that we were up there. They have been asked to come in every single time. I am inviting them to come into our office to talk to me today, tomorrow, any day, anytime. I cannot make this more clear. Anytime they want to come in and talk about the case, I am available to them. If they want to, we can set up a conference call on a weekend. If they need me to drive up to Marietta or up to Rome, I will drive up to Marietta or I will drive up to Rome. I drove up to Marietta a couple weeks ago with my investigator. Ms. Bruce was actually not there. So we have tried our very best to have a good relationship with them. They have turned their back because they do not believe that we are prosecuting the right person for this case. That was something I told them from the very beginning.
Right? They do not believe that we are prosecuting the right person for this case. Where's the evidence? Where's the mountains of evidence that your PR person promised at the press conferences? Where's that mountains of evidence? That mountain of evidence? Is he saying he's going to tell them what the mountains of evidence are if they want to come meet with him in the brand new grand jury room upstairs? Congratulations on your brand new grand jury room anyway. That's fantastic. And it's their right to not come. And they believe that you are prosecuting the wrong person. And they believe maybe that you did not follow up on the leads of the drug dealers, and the drug deal's gone bad. And the person who held them at gunpoint that was witnessed by Sarah Grace's brother, did you interview him? Did you investigate any other leads? What about when your PR person came on the press conference and said, oh yes, and there may be some more arrests coming? That was in July when she was arrested. There's been no arrests since. Have we heard one thing from evidence yet? No, nothing, except her eulogy was not, it was fake tears, crocodile tears. And she went to TikTok to ask influencers to try and cover the case so that she could find out who murdered her parents. And it took her 4 months to do it. And her family asked her to do it, actually. Right. They would need a lawyer with them, probably. More costs. Exactly. That's not supposed to be your argument, Mr. DA, ADA. Your argument is supposed to be she's a danger to the community. She's a flight risk and she's going to intimidate witnesses. Doesn't matter whether or not her grandparents came to talk to you or her family came to talk to you. They don't want to talk to you because you're just going to keep blowing smoke up their ass with your mountain of evidence that you will not tell them any of. Yeah, Columbo Wannabe says the rug dealers are on the sidelines laughing and they aren't even being investigated. Here we go.
Going to be as open and inviting as I can be, but we are not going to agree on that fact. They choose not to come in, Judge. I had conversations on the phone with Mr. Newnan and with Ms. Bruce because they live far away and it was difficult for them to come in. Any person in that family who wants to come in and talk to us can do so. At that meeting on August 19th, I told them to bring as many people as they want to. Friends, family, whoever they like. I invited them to record the interaction if they would like to. I have no problem talking to them. The state is not scared of talking to the family on either side. We invite them.
Okay,
Going
so
back to the Brock side of the family, Judge,
so you invite them. So we invite them to come talk to you so that you can keep telling them the same BS over and over again that you have no evidence against their granddaughter. And if you do have evidence, you're not going to tell them what it is. I mean, there was a mountain of evidence. You'll drive to Marietta. You did it with your investigator. Fantastic. Were you looking into any of the drug dealers? What else are you doing with your investigator? Are you looking into finding out who held them at gunpoint? Have you interviewed the brother? So many things I want to know.
You have a statement from them. They opposed bond as well for the same reasons that they opposed bond in the first time. I would like to read this statement from them if I could.
Okay, this is from the Brock family. Yeah, the boss baby. Excellent. Hi, next witness. Next witness is here. Next witness. If you don't follow next witness, go do it. They make amazing compilation videos of all kinds of reactions on YouTube for all the cases that we cover from all different law tubers and other YouTubers, and they're amazing. And we have a boss baby emoji, and it's right here. That was for the Robert Tellis trial, and then we decided that the boss baby emoji could also be used for Hank Brennan because he was such a whiner, and Adam Lally. Okay, here we go.
The seriousness of the charges before this court cannot be overstated. The accused is being held and charged with the malice murder of 2 people. These were intentional violent acts.
This is a statement from, or a letter from one of the Brock family. He did not say who.
That were permanently destroying our family. Granting bond in a case of this magnitude would undermine the gravity of these crimes and the devastating harm that she has already inflicted. Then they move to addressing the Ayala factors. We remain deeply concerned about flight risk. The defendant is facing the possibility of life-altering consequences if convicted, given the severity of the charge.
Are these the parents of James Brock? I believe these are the parents of James Brock, the stepfather who was also murdered.
The incentive to flee is substantial. The immediate family has the resources which would enable her to flee. Her family maintains that she is innocent, and given her manipulative behavior, it is possible for her to flee. Once released, there would be no meaningful way to ensure the defendant remains within the jurisdiction or appears for future court proceedings, since family and close friends have homes outside of the state of Georgia. We are also gravely concerned about witness intimidation. This case relies on witnesses who must be able to cooperate freely and safely with law enforcement and with the court. Releasing the defendant creates a real and reasonable fear that witnesses could be intimidated, influenced, or discouraged from coming forward.
And my heart breaks for them. My heart breaks for them. Their son was murdered. Their son may also have been involved in some nefarious activities. Where's the show me some evidence and I may change my mind, but I haven't seen anything.
Even indirect contact or perceived threats would be irreparably damaging to the case. Finally, and most urgently,
and who are all of these witnesses? The only witness that we know of is the 5-year-old who found their bodies. That's the only witness. What other witnesses are there?
For our own safety, the loss that our family has suffered has traumatized us and left us vulnerable. The thought of the person accused of killing them being released into the community causes us constant anxiety and fear. Bond would not only endanger witnesses, it would also place our family under continued emotional distress and fear for our physical safety. The accused is being charged with 2 malice murder counts. These are horrific and violent crimes of which she is being accused. The defendant's second bond request, this is the defendant's second bond request, and nothing has changed that would justify reconsideration. The risks remain the same, if not greater, as the case moves forward and the consequences become more real. Our family would not be able to sleep in peace knowing that she is not in protective custody.
That's his sister?
Judge, it's the state's position that on August 19th.
And also, it's interesting to point out that the 5-year-old is in the custody of Kristen's mother, not James Brock's mother. or parent. I don't know. Is that her sister or sister? Not his family.
In 2025, she was a core candidate for bond, and that is, as I stand here before you today, she remains a core candidate for bond, and bond should be denied as such.
Who made the statement?
That was crafted by Kim Bowling on behalf of the other family, the Rock family.
Who was that for?
Crafted on behalf of Kim Bowling for the rest of the family, or ChatGPT. I'm not quite sure, but who is Kristen Bowling?
Who made the statement?
Kim Bowling.
I'm sorry, Kim Bowling?
It is.
Oh, the
In
sister.
the past hearing, we also had a brother testify, is that right?
We did, Judge. We had sons. We had sons in her, and then a friend of the family as well. Call her. It's going back a little bit.
I believe it was her brother, stepbrother. Is that correct?
I think so, Judge.
Is that right?
That's right, Karen.
And he was not in favor at that time as well, correct?
Correct. Judge. There's significant numbers on this side as well.
And they lived together for a period of time, correct? The brother?
This is 5 months ago.
That was my recollection, that he was in the house for a period of time. Is that not correct?
Not in recent memory, Judge. Not in recent history. That is my understanding.
Anything else from the state?
Nothing else from the state, Judge.
So in preparing for this hearing today,
All right, and then this is the judge's ruling. And that clip that we just showed, hold on,
Judge.
showed her rolling her eyes, and that's what Law and Crime titled it. TikTok teen rolls eyes, makes faces during state's bond hearing. Here's the judge's ruling.
so in preparing for this hearing today, I was prepared to listen for and hear anything that showed that there was a material change. As of right now, I don't see that there has been a material change. The only real change that has happened, one is the court date changed, and then two,
That's a big deal.
I don't believe I had the information in front of me that family members had signed contracts with different media companies at the prior hearing. So that's new material. When I look at this, when I asked the state and defense to come up and the witnesses were testifying, when the defense objected to the line of questioning the state had, my concern was I wanted someone to ask or bring up the question of the veracity of these statements, because while I know, and I hope the family hears this, I'm not doubting your love for your granddaughter or your daughter. There's Mr. DJ here. That's not in question. Okay, and I think I said this last year. So whatever rule.
Is Sarah's dad there? I couldn't tell. I think he did then direct his statement to Sarah's dad, Danielle. So he's been in the chat. He's actually a channel member. Danielle, we're here for you and for Sarah Grace, and we're outraged.
That's not in question. Okay, and I'm not doubting your love for your granddaughter or your daughter. There's Mr. DJ here. That's not in question. Okay, and I think I said this last year. So whatever ruling I make today, do not think that it is me determining your love and care for your daughter, right, or your granddaughter. With that said, I do have to consider some of the things that have changed, and with these type of contracts, if she were to be released, y'all could benefit from your Ms. Williams actually used the term media frenzy. The more that's.
I'm sorry, what? If Sarah Grace were released, y'all could benefit from the media frenzy. Somebody said, yeah, some people need to be at work. He may be at work. Maybe he couldn't make it. Maybe he couldn't get the day off. I don't know what he does for a living. There's going to be a media frenzy anyway, because I'm not going to shut up about this case. And neither are you. Well, listen to that again.
I do have to consider some of the things that have changed, and with these type contracts, if she were to be released, y'all could benefit from your Ms. Williams actually used the term media frenzy. The more that's brought about, potentially the higher or more you as individuals would receive potentially. So while that's not
First of all, that's not a reason to deny bond. Okay. That's not a reason to deny bond. So you're saying because the family might be able to more benefit financially in a, I can't even think of my words right now. I'm so mad. The family might be able to benefit at a higher financial level if you allow her to come out of jail, out of solitary confinement, because maybe the documentary company would pay them more money because they would interview her, that you're not going to release her. I'm sorry, what? Listen to this again. You would get paid more money if I let her out, so that's probably why I'm not going to let her out. That's not supposed, yeah, he's got grave concerns. That's not supposed to be one of the reasons. You're not, there's no gag order on this case. Anybody can talk to anybody. The grandparents have given interviews. Danielle Patrick has given interviews. Sarah can't because she's in jail in solitary confinement. I'm going to say it again. Solitary confinement since last July.
Potentially the higher or more you as individuals would receive potentially. And so while that's not an factor that I have to evaluate, that is some of the change that in consideration of where she's going, who she'd be with, and they play into the factors of what could happen. But again, that does not play into whether or not you care or love your granddaughter or your daughter. All right. Going to the court dates. I don't believe that really goes into the material change argument, but it is a change in dates. And I want to lay this out. Ms. Patrick, I tried to take some time with you last time going through the arraignment process and going through the grand jury. So I'm going to lay this out for you today, okay? A typical criminal trial that most people don't realize, for that to be fast, for a criminal trial, especially one like this, a murder trial or child molestation or rape trial, these heavy crimes, right? Most people in the judicial world would say that 1.5 years is a really fast track.
I don't care about most other people and that 1.5 years is a fast track. This is a child. She's a child that is being held in solitary. So for you to now say, oh, well, 1.5 years is really fast, and it's not even 1 year yet since her parents are murdered. So, like we're right on track. We're right on track here. No big whoop, no biggie. Even if we go to trial in August, that's still better than like most of them get. Most of the defendants with really bad cases like, child grape. No big whoop. We're still on track here.
For that case to be heard. And I'm sure your attorney's probably gone over this with you, son. You're even shaking your head yes, like you understand that to be the case, right?
She understands.
So,
she's 17.
Right.
She's 17. She's nodding her head. She's 17.
Now, when your case first came up, the first court date that I gave you, I was trying to push because I know your age, right? And I wanted everybody to understand by me giving those first dates, do not drag your feet. But in all candor, if you remember, if you go back to that hearing when I set that date, I kind of had a little caveat saying, I understand this may be pushing, right? And what happened was, when it came up, defense, you announced ready, but in actuality, you didn't even have your full report. And to do that, you would have needed that report. If we had started that day, you were thinking you might have the report by Friday, but you weren't sure. But I think you did what you had to do in the moment, say you're ready, but you were announcing ready without the full report that you truly need. State needs that report. They need that full report to do their job and have their experts. So as both of you stated that day, and I believe the state even addressed here today, the continuance had to be given. The continuance had to be granted for fairness to take place, right? Fairness for you and your attorney to actually get the full report, and fairness for the state to be able to prepare for this case. Now, in doing that, I had a couple of different dates available. The state and defense both came to me and said, Judge, we know that you don't want to move this case again. We want to put it on your August date. That was the date that was agreed on by defense and the state. If I look at the dates, right now, we just acknowledged, and you were shaking your head.
I think the defense agreed to an August date because they figured, okay, if it gets pushed to August, he's more likely to let her out on bail. Siobhan's like, hello, is anyone concerned about this baby's constitutional rights? What are we doing here, Judge? Somebody else in the chat, I think maybe it was deleted, said, Yeah, why don't you let her go live with you? That's okay. I'm good. Well, her grandmother did say she could come live with her. So her grandmother's not afraid of her. And one of the most important things to remember here is that every defendant is innocent until proven guilty. Okay? And there's no evidence against this girl that we know of. There's a defendant in Norfolk County. No, it's in Plymouth County, Massachusetts, who point blank shot another man in the face. Point blank. First-degree murder charges. Judge Cannoni just let him out on $100,000 cash bail because diabetes. Because diabetes made him crazy. And he wasn't getting proper medical treatment in jail. Does Sarah Grace Patrick need to have diabetes or some medical condition that maybe he would reconsider? Come on. What are we doing here? What are we doing?
Yes, as if you understood that a year and a half is really fast for these type cases. That's
really fast. Don't worry. We're just getting you right on in there.
One will get, right? If I look at my dates now for your August date, you hit right at almost exactly.
Look at us doing a great job.
So even with that August date, your case is still moving at an incredibly fast pace. Do you realize that? Now, with that being said, state and defense also know I do not want to continue this case again, right? And we're going to do everything that I can. I'm going to do everything that I can to prevent this case from being moved.
Look at his Hollywood smile, his sparkly, pearly whites. He's straight out of Central Casting, this judge. I don't want to continue this case again, so we're just going to keep it on track, and I don't want to have to do it again because I don't want to have to keep you in solitary any longer, youngin'. There's been no preliminary hearing on this. There's no probable cause affidavit on this. There is nothing that sets forth any amount of evidence on this case. I've got the entire court file that I could get my hands on. And the only thing that we found was a motion in limine in which the defense says, we don't want the state to be able to use her text messages against her that talk about her sleeping with other people. So they're going to, apparently they want to slut shame her and that makes her a murderer, or talk about, they wanted to bring up some text messages about drug paraphernalia perhaps found. Remember, marijuana is illegal in Georgia too. So what, her parents found a vape or a pipe or something, and they want those text messages to come into evidence, because if she smokes weed, then she's definitely a murderer.
It's my understanding there may be some changes that take place. If those changes do take place, I do anticipate signing an order to specially set this. If there are conflicts, I commit to both state and defense. I don't mind calling other judges that may have conflicts and ask them if they don't mind if we jump ahead in line so that I can have attorneys report to me so that we can make this happen. And I hope that we can do that. But when I look at this again, I think the state's correct. I have to evaluate it for material change. I don't see much of a material change. The risks that were there at your first bond hearing still exist. I do have to say I can see both sides, but I do see from the state saying that things may be even intensified with these contracts, because that brings a whole level again of motivation. If you're what's going to motivate you or that side to do things, because the more that's there, the more they have, the more potentially they get. That's a risk too.
Can issue a gag order and let her out.
So based on that, and based on evidence that was given to me at the prior hearing, I believe any time that I make a ruling that takes into consideration statements that were made at prior rulings, I have to place it on the record. So I am placing on the record that part of this ruling is based upon the testimony that was given to me at the prior bond hearing. Okay, the statements that I heard then. And I'm not giving more weight to one side or the other. That's just not the case. What I am doing is properly weighing this to the best of my ability against the law, right? And that's what I have to do with these factors, right? Based on doing that, I am going to stand with the original order that I gave. Bond will continue to be denied. I do not find a significant material change in circumstances or facts that would allow or require me to make a change in that prior ruling. So the prior ruling will still stay. Right, your case is set for our August date. Attorneys, we will continue our meetings as we've done prior to this. I anticipate us still having our monthly conference calls to make sure that we can stay on pace and stay on track. If there's a change, please let me know if there's a change. And whenever that change is made, I will.
Look at LaToya Williams. She looks like she's about to burst into tears. She looks like she's about to burst into tears. That is a fierce advocate, my friends. That is what zealous representation looks like. Lexi 2 times says, imagine the audacity to use the word fast when talking to someone who lives in a literal cement closet. Bond denied. Don't worry. We're going to go to trial in August. A year and a half is really fast in this county.
Continue to bring that person in to continue with these monthly conference calls so we can keep this case on track.
Monthly conference calls, great.
I do want to say again, Ms. Williams, you and your staff and state have done a fantastic job keeping me informed of this case and making it a priority. I very appreciate that. Y'all have both done a great job.
That's not her daughter.
Thus far.
That's not her
I
daughter.
anticipate y'all doing the same moving forward. That'll be the ruling court.
Wow. I mean, just wow. Let's go to the chat for a moment. Can they appeal it? I would imagine that they can. Will they? I don't know. Does Sarah Grace Patrick need a movement behind her? Does Sarah Grace Patrick need a turtle boy? Does Sarah Grace Patrick need people outside with signs? This sucks. Issue a gag order and let her out. Her grandmother said she would take her. If you feel like you need to move the 5-year-old somewhere else, do that. I don't like that they didn't come in with a better plan. And if he had used that as his rationale for denying it by saying, listen, I can't let her go out of state. So the Alabama friend is not an option for her to go. You don't have a good enough release plan. Come back with a better release plan. That would be, I could get on board with that because I kind of felt that way too. Proctor got waffles, been here for 9 months. But I don't like the argument of, oh, they've got a media contract and so therefore that gives them motivation to do what? There's no gag order. Anybody can talk to anybody they want. Laura Ambrose says, I'm so happy you're home safe. I sent you an email regarding an X reply I made to Aiden's post, but I think I forgot to sign it. It was from me. Thank you, Laura. Thanks for your 5. I don't know what's been going on over there because I haven't been paying attention because I'm on vacation. I was on vacation and I also feel like I'm just done. I'm done with that whole thing and all that drama. I'm just done with it. Jackie says her family should have never talked with producers about a documentary until after the trial. The optics are so terrible. I agree. And if the reason that they did so was because they needed the money, I would have wanted to know that. Okay. I would have liked that too. Next witness wanted to know if the bio dad was an option. I think he lives in Alabama too, so they probably didn't even suggest it. Resisting arrest says, everyone please hit the like or no soup for you. Seinfeld references always welcome. Thanks for being here for 13 months. Columbo Wannabe said, I'm so disappointed that the defense didn't have a solid plan to release Sarah Grace Patrick in Georgia. I agree. And that would have been a better rationale for me. I could swallow that. But, everyone's still in fear doesn't really fly with me when they didn't come in to testify again, because they testified in August and letters are different than testimony. But apparently he didn't need the testimony. Mother Oat says, Melanie, did you know that ABC News paid Casey Anthony $200,000 before her trial for exclusive rights to her family photographs? And then Casey Anthony hired the same investigator as O.J. Simpson. Thank you, Mother of Oats. 19 Derry became a member. Welcome. McMandy, Ruth says, Melanie, your daughter called you when she got pulled over. How's a 17-year-old going to flee and start a new life alone? See, but we're just using common sense here, right? Alabama is so close to Carrollton. My boyfriend works in Alabama, says Melanie 42069. Yeah, except the problem is it's not Georgia. Usually bail conditions require, and any bail bondsman will probably tell you you're not allowed to leave the state. And if they even with ankle monitoring, put her on a GPS monitor, give her house arrest. It's still a different state. That's the issue. But again, the judge didn't even use that as his rationale. And there's no written decision yet in the court docket. Kelly says, I left Carrollton, Georgia in July, and I'm in Roanoke, Virginia. So you know a lot about the county. Crunchy Frog says, I don't know that much about this case, but the prosecutor at this point just needs to show probable cause, not all the evidence they intend to use. That's the problem. There's no probable cause affidavit that was ever filed with the court. The warrants for her arrest don't give any sort of evidence whatsoever, and there was no preliminary hearing. So we know nothing about nothing is what we know. There's nothing. We don't even know what the probable cause was. The probable cause was, and this is what Danielle Patrick, her father, said, is what they told him. Well, there's nobody else who could have done it, so she did it. That's their probable cause, as far as we know. Bethany Rose, thanks for your 20, says, but a man named Michael Fosler can be released on bond with no GPS monitoring and kidnap the same girl, right, and then grape her some more. But that judge didn't think he was dangerous, right? That was in Arkansas. Thank you. That's Aaron Spencer's case. But Sarah Grace Patrick poses a threat and a flight risk. Yes, different state, but still, I see what you're saying. Thank you. How dare you? 56 says, whose pocket is this judge in? Thanks for tuning in from Canada. Magnolia Gypsy says, I'm underwhelmed that they did not have a solid plan for where she would go and who would watch over her. Same. Gen X Gammy says, I don't understand why we can't get some evidence in these bond hearings. It seems like they're just based on families' feelings. Yeah. All the feels. Yeah, I'm afraid of her. Don't let her out. She's got no driver's license, no passport, no car. Robin says, betting time isn't moving fast for Sarah Grace in her cell all along waiting. Yeah, right. He's like, oh yeah, a year and a half's not long. Like, that's totally normal here, right? Sarah Grace, your attorney, you're nodding like your attorney explained that to you, right? So, no big whoop. Seat Shinny says, wouldn't those texts be prior bad acts? They would not be admissible because where's the relevance though? If there were text messages about, my mom found my pipe, let's just say, it doesn't make her a murderer. It's more prejudicial than it is probative because you might find a juror or two, not you guys, but you might find a juror or two who says, oh, she was smoking the reefer. Well, then she must be a murderer because reefer makes people crazy and it makes them want to kill people. It's more prejudicial than probative. Her sending text messages to maybe her boyfriend, like talking about her prior partners. How is that relevant to murder? It's not. And so, yeah, no, those are not prior bad acts, but thank you for the question. It's a great question. Weird Debbie says, thank you, Melanie. Thanks for being here for 19 months, Weird Debbie. And Jomar says, thanks for helping expose this case and help Sarah Grace. I have daughters. This horrifies me. It horrifies me. Do they have a give, send, go? If they need money for attorney's fees, forget about this company. Nobody's more generous than you guys, right? The devil's lettuce. Yeah. Reefer madness. It's like reefer madness. Let's take a look at the company that they signed their deal with. Because I can't find anything under Ladywell Films. And so what had happened was, oh, Stephanie, thank you for your very generous friend of dog. $100 Venmo says, I adore you and I am outraged. I'm outraged too. Let me first show you this media order. Thank you so very much. You guys are so generous and I love you with all of my heart so very much. There's a media order in here from Ladywell Films, which does not exist in IMDb. So let me just show you the media order and show you how, because you guys like receipts. I'm going to show you how I got to what I found. Hold, please. There was a media request from Ladywell Films. However, Ladywell Films must be a new company because they're not coming up in IMDb. Let me show it to you. That's who the grandfather said that they signed their contract with. And so here it is. This was just filed on January 26th. And this is a request to use a recording device pursuant to Rule 22 on recording of judicial proceedings. Pursuant to Rule 22 of the Uniform Rules for Superior Court regarding use of electronic devices in courtrooms and recording of judicial proceedings, undersigned hereby request permission to use a recordings device in courtroom of Judge Dusty Hightower, in order to record images and or sound during all the following portions of the proceedings in the above captioned calendar. And it says bond hearing. It says, here's what we want: 2 cameras on tripods, a microphone, a recorder and transmitter, a laptop, and access to court microphones for the date of 1/27/26. And it says, Ladywell Films, the personnel who's responsible for the use of this recording devices are Ladywell Films and Bernadette Higgins and TBC. So this is signed by Ladywell Films. And the judge said, okay, you can come in, Ladywell Films, because there is no listing for Ladywell Films in IMDb. I went to Bernadette Higgins, and you will see here that Bernadette Higgins has such credits as American Nightmare, The Tinder Swindler, Fear City, New York, and she's been a producer on all of these shows. The Tinder Swindler, she was a producer. Fear City, New York versus the Mafia. Pariah, The Lives and Deaths of Sonny Liston. Till Death Do Us Part. One episode she edited, and then, but going back to 2015, she's an assistant producer on Britain's Toughest Prison Riot. American Nightmare. What was that about? Hold on. Well, let's look. After a harrowing home invasion and kidnapping in 2015, a couple is accused of staging the ordeal when the woman reappears in this true crime docuseries. This was on Netflix. Rosamund Pike was in that. The girl who was kidnapped and they didn't believe her. How many episodes was it? Let's see. It was 3 episodes. And this aired, well, January 17th of 2024. I guess a lot of you are familiar with the Tinder Swindler. That was 2022 documentary. Posing as a wealthy jet-setting diamond mogul, he wooed women online, then conned them out of millions of dollars. And so that also was with Netflix. So I imagine now perhaps Bernadette has started her own company, and she's going to call it Ladywell Films, because Ladywell Films is not on IMDb. And maybe she has to deal with Netflix. I don't know, because it doesn't come up in her. Sometimes it says like in production. It doesn't have anything in production yet. So maybe they're waiting to see what happens with the trial. Seems that way, but I don't think that should have been any part of the consideration about whether or not Sarah Grace Patrick should get out of jail. Let me know what you think. Are you outraged? Are you infuriated? Are there other defendants out there who are being wrongfully persecuted? Perhaps. I mean, listen, if they do show up with an actual mountain of evidence that is actual and real, I will change my opinion. But as of right now, I see nothing about nothing. Thank you, Mikazi G, for your 10. Since glad you're back from vacation in one piece. I've been going over the Maya trial. I'm on day 3 at 3 o'clock today. Thank you. Thanks for coming in and self-promoting, Mikazi G. If you want to learn about Maya, Mikazi G is doing it, doing the Lord's work. Tell me if you're mad, what you're mad about, and what is making you mad about this. Stephanie, again, thank you so very much for your very generous Venmo. Amanda, thank you. For the order on, this is from a couple days ago, on Aaron Spencer. There's been a new judge assigned. Yeah, I saw that. The Defense Diaries covered that. Judge Ralph Wilson, who's a retired circuit judge, is hereby assigned to hear the state of Arkansas versus Aaron Spencer in Lonoke County. Judge Barbara Elmore has been removed from the case. That came down from the Arkansas Supreme Court. However, there is no new date for the proceedings to resume on Aaron Spencer. Thank you, Betsy, for your Venmo. So happy you made it back safely. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you very much to Gina, who is giving me the Sarah Grace Patrick address for you guys to mail her. If you want to mail her a postcard, you can only mail a pre-stamped postcard purchased at the post office. I'm going to cut and paste this, Gina, right into the show notes for this video right now while I have you guys here so that I don't forget. Thank you, Gina, for sending that to me. I'm sure that any postcards that you could send her, and postcards of support, please, don't be a troll, would be very kind. So thank you, Gina, for sending that to me. You got to put her name on it, her inmate number. You're only allowed to mail a pre-stamped postcard purchased at the post office. No letters, no restrictions on ink color. Can be any color ink, and it's going to the Carroll County Jail. I will fix the formatting later on that. You just refresh your browser and it will be in the show notes below. Thank you very much for that, Gina. You're the greatest. You guys are amazing. Here's what I think we can do. I was thinking about doing another show today because I've had so many days off and there's so many things that we need to catch up on. And I just don't know what you want to cover. If you want to cover the I'm going to call them now the Haas defendant's motion to dismiss, which is lengthy. No, Aaron Spencer's jury selection is not starting tomorrow because the judge has been removed. It's a new judge, new rules, no date. No date. There is an address on there. Refresh your browser. I was frozen. That's weird. Again. Do you want to cover the Haas defendant's motion to dismiss? Is the Lindsay Clancy hearing up on YouTube though? I don't know. I have to see if I can find it. But I have some things to do. I got to go and do some things. So I won't be able to come back until later. So there's no jury selection on Aaron Spencer tomorrow. Aidan Carney's hearing is still set for Friday at 9:30. We got to cover that. Also, Alex Green is having a bail hearing in front of Judge Cannoni in Plymouth County. Who knows if we can even get the Zoom info for that. Oh, it's been frozen a few times. I don't know. I don't know why. Was it frozen when I pulled up the documents to read to you? Because if I can't pull up the documents and read them to you, Arkansas is closed this week for the snowstorm. Then that doesn't make any sense to come back and do the, but it's StreamYard issue, right? Even when I was in Mexico, I thought it was because of the internet was not that great. The Wi-Fi wasn't that great, but I was on a different device. It was still freezing. It is still not the documents when I'm looking at another screen. Oh, so when I go off screen and I'm looking at another screen, but when I keep myself on screen in front of you, I don't know. I don't know if there's rhyme or reason. It unfroze when I pulled up the documents. Okay. All right. So do you want to do that? Do you want to do frozen when I was looking at the Venmo? That was my email. So I was just on another screen. I don't know. It's happening to everyone. So it's not just me. So I don't need to call the Geek Squad to come and like fix everything. Can't I be the camera in the courthouse? Yeah, I wish I could. StreamYard and YouTube have been wonky since that whole Verizon outage, right? Since the whole Verizon outage. It's really annoying because I like to give you such a good viewing experience. So it hurts my feelings, but I don't know. I don't know what to do. All right. StreamYard, not me. All right, good. What time is it now? It's like 3. I don't know what time I'm going to be able to do it. It might be like 6. Did Brendan Banfield testify today? Anyone? Did Brendan Banfield? Oh, so it's Defense Diaries too? All right. You don't think I need the Geek Squad? Okay. You want to do the Haas defendants? All right. Do I want to get involved in all the drama? Not a House defendant is here and says, are we going back to Oklahoma for Jesse Butler? When is that hearing? Islanders and Rangers. Oh, Isles and Rangers tonight and tomorrow at 7. Oh, Scott, we may have to push the Haas defendants to tomorrow. Should we push it to tomorrow? We might have to push it. I got to go do some stuff though right now. Make sure you have all your notifications set. Make sure that you get the notifications on your phone, because if you don't, then you'll never know. Because this one I just set up 2 hours before I went live. And so I hope that you guys were able to find me and do it. Banfield, don't know if he testified yet. You survived. I know. Because we're living in the land of Narnia. Please support Sarah Grace Patrick. There's been no preliminary hearing. There's been no probable cause affidavit filed. We know nothing. We know nothing. And her family knows nothing. In fact, they stopped showing up. And that was the prosecutor's argument. Her family won't even show up because they think we're prosecuting the wrong person. Yeah, that's right. That's right, they do. Wouldn't you, if you heard nothing except for, well, nobody else could have done it, so she must have done it? And your 17-year-old granddaughter, who was 16 years old at the time of her parents' murders, who was 16, is being held in solitary and will be continued now to be held in solitary until maybe August. But maybe if the judge can get another judge to step in, they could rearrange the schedule and maybe they can move her trial up a little bit. Listen, if they need a defense fund for costs because they need to hire a private attorney because LaToya Williams may be going private, start it. We will promote it. You guys are more generous than anyone on the internet. We can help fund it. It's horrifying. Oh, he has not taken the stand yet. Thank you, Megan. You know everything, Megan. You're amazing, Megan. You're all amazing. And I thank you so much for coming to spend part of your day with me today. It was 2 hours only today, which is short for us. So I am so grateful for each and every one of you that comes to spend so many of your days with me, so many of your hours with me. Stay cool, stay kind, stay classy, stay safe out there, because there's a lot of whack jobs out there, if you know what I mean. Thank the moderators, tip your servers, and peace until I see you next, which may be later, maybe tomorrow. We'll see. Okay. Love you with all of my heart. If I don't see you soon, I'm going to die. But I am going to see you soon. It's going to be tomorrow or later. And so when is Jesse Butler? I'm going to find out. Thank you, Not a House Defendant, for your contribution to the channel. Peace, everyone. Share the stream, please. We need people to get loud about this case. Thank you. Because mainstream media has already convicted Sarah Grace. Love you.